I used to think marriage was about trust, about love, laughter, and compromise. But I learned that when someone loves you deeply, they might also change you completely. My name was Daniel. At least it used to be. When I first met Clara, she was everything I ever wanted: elegant, confident, a woman who seemed to know what she wanted from life. We met at a charity event my firm sponsored. She smiled at me like I was already hers. And maybe I was. Within months, we were married in a quiet ceremony. Everyone said we were the perfect couple. But marriage isn't a fairy tale, not when your partner hides something behind every gentle word and loving gaze. Clara had rules. Strange ones. She wanted control over almost every detail of our lives: what I wore to work, how we decorated the house, even how I spoke at the dinner table. It wasn't forceful at first, more like persuasion. "It's just good manners," she'd say with that disarming smile. I wanted to make her happy, so I agreed. But then, the changes began to grow more personal. One evening, just weeks before our first anniversary, she said softly while clearing the dishes, "You know, Dan, I've always wondered how you'd look in something softer. You're so tense lately, maybe you need a little unwinding." I laughed, thinking it was a joke. But the way she looked at me, slow, curious, made me shiver. That night, she left a silk robe on my side of the bed.
"Just try it," she said.
For me, it was a deep burgundy color, smooth, cool against my fingers. I hesitated, then slipped it on. She smiled approvingly and came close, fixing the belt around my waist.
"There. You see?
You look peaceful now." Her tone was soft, but something in her eyes told me this wasn't just play. From that day on, she started calling me her project. I thought it was playful teasing until it wasn't. When she booked a couples retreat for our anniversary, I expected candlelit dinners and massages. What I didn't expect was a secluded villa with a full wardrobe, and none of it was mine. Dresses, lingerie, wigs, jewelry, all neatly arranged. And then the shocking words, "This honeymoon will be different, my love. I want to show you what it feels like to truly let go, to become the version of yourself I know you can be." I laughed nervously, but she didn't laugh back. She handed me a white lace nightgown. "Please, Daniel. Just for tonight. Trust me." And somehow I did. Maybe because I still believed she loved me. The next morning, sunlight spilled through the gauzy curtains of the villa bedroom. I woke to the sound of birds outside and the faint scent of perfume that wasn't mine. Clara stood by the mirror, brushing her hair, wearing a robe identical to mine. Only hers was pure ivory. She turned, smiled softly, and said, "Good morning, sweetheart. Did you sleep well, Daniela?" I froze. "What did you call me?" "Daniela," she repeated smoothly. "It suits you better here. We're far from the world, no one knows us, no one will judge. Let's just play, hmm?" Her tone was light, but her gaze was firm. I tried to laugh it off, but when she handed me a delicate pink camisole and said, "Wear this for breakfast," something inside me trembled. I wanted to protest, to say no, but the way she looked at me, proud, expectant, loving, made me falter. I slipped it on. And for the first time, she kissed me, not like a husband, but like someone she was shaping slowly, deliberately. At breakfast, I could hardly eat. Every movement felt wrong: the way the silky strap brushed against my shoulder, the way she kept calling me her pretty one. She never once said husband. Only my beautiful girl. By afternoon, she brought out makeup, foundation, lipstick, mascara, and laid them out in a perfect row. "Let's see what you've been hiding all this time," she whispered, guiding my chin toward the mirror. The sight of my reflection, soft curls from the wig she'd chosen, faint blush on my cheeks, gloss on my lips, was unreal. I didn't look like me. But Clara's voice was steady, proud. "Now you see it, don't you? You've always had this gentleness inside. I just helped it come out." I wanted to deny it, to take it all off, but when she slipped her arm around me and said, "Smile, Daniela," I did. Because for a strange, dizzying moment, it felt easier to be her creation than to fight her plan. That night, after she fell asleep beside me, I crept into the bathroom and stared at my reflection, still painted, still soft. On the counter was her phone, unlocked, glowing faintly. A message preview blinked from the screen. Don't worry. By the end of this trip, he won't remember who Daniel even was. My heart stopped. I stared at the glowing screen, my pulse pounding so hard I thought the sound would wake Clara. Her message sat there, mocking me in plain sight, proof that this wasn't just some game or romantic fantasy. By the end of this trip, he won't remember who Daniel even was. Who was she talking to? What did she mean, remember? I hesitated for a moment, my trembling fingers hovering over the phone before I tapped it open. There were messages dozens between Clara and someone named Elise Nail Polish. Scrolling up, my throat tightened. Elise. He'll resist at first. They always do. But once he sees himself in the mirror long enough, the mind adapts. Clara. He already looks softer. I told you it would work. I just need him to feel like her. Elise. Good girl. Keep him in the role. Every hour counts. My breath hitched. My mind tried to make sense of it, but every word screamed manipulation. Every hour counts? Keep him in the role? This wasn't a romantic experiment, it was a plan. I scrolled further. Clara. He thinks it's just fun for the honeymoon. But once we get home, I'll make sure Daniela has everything she needs: clothes, appointments, a new job offer maybe. Something permanent. Elise. Then you'll finally have the life you wanted. Clara. The one I deserve. I put the phone down, my fingers cold and slick with sweat. My own wife, my new bride, had planned this all before our wedding night. I wasn't her partner. I was her project. From the bed, Clara stirred softly, murmuring my fake name in her sleep. Daniela, my perfect girl. I backed into the bathroom wall, my heart racing, the truth unraveling like a slow nightmare. I wanted to wake her and demand answers, but fear held me still. What if confronting her now only made it worse? What if she had already planned that, too? The next morning, Clara was all smiles again. Breakfast on the balcony, a long floral sundress waiting neatly for me, and that same sing-song tone. Come now, Daniela. Let's see that smile. We've got fittings today. Fittings, I echoed, voice thin. For our dinner tonight, she said smoothly. Every bride deserves the perfect dress. Her eyes sparkled, but behind them was calculation, subtle, careful, chilling. I tried to object. Clara, She pressed a finger to my lips.
Hush.
Trust me. And just like that, my resistance melted again. I followed her to the car, the wind teasing the edge of my scarf, the dress brushing my legs. I kept thinking about those texts, about Elise, about this strange new role I'd been forced into, and how easily my mind kept slipping toward it. As we drove into town, Clara reached over and squeezed my hand. You're doing so well, sweetheart. I knew you'd be perfect for this. Her words stung, but somehow also warmed me. And that terrified me most of all. When we reached the boutique, a tall woman in a sleek black dress greeted Clara like an old friend. So this is her, she said, eyes locking on me. Even prettier than I imagined. Before I could speak, Clara whispered in my ear, Daniela, meet Elise. My stomach dropped. Elise's boutique was nothing like any store I'd ever been in. It didn't even look real. The air smelled faintly of vanilla and powder, the kind of scent that clings to soft fabrics and long memories. Everything glowed: mirrors, glass displays, soft pastel lights. Mannequins lined the walls, each one dressed in different stages of femininity. Some wore simple skirts and blouses, others elaborate gowns with lace gloves, pearls, and delicate shoes that gleamed like glass. And all of them looked eerily lifelike. Clara's hand rested gently on my back. Breathe, sweetheart, she murmured, as if sensing the tremor in me. You'll love this. Elise smiled with the confidence of someone who'd been in control long before I'd arrived. You must be nervous, she said, circling me like a stylist inspecting a client. That's normal. Every transformation starts with hesitation. I blinked, heart pounding. Transformation. Of course, she said, gesturing to a velvet curtain at the back of the room. "Come with me, Daniela. It's time to see who you really are." Clara gave me that same calm smile. "Trust her, honey. She's the best." I swallowed hard. "Clara, I don't know if I can." Elise interrupted softly. "Oh, but you already have. Look at yourself." And I did. The reflection staring back at me wasn't the man I'd known my whole life. My hair was styled neatly from the night before, my face still soft with leftover foundation, my lips faintly tinted pink. I didn't look like Daniel anymore, not completely. My chest rose and fell faster, panic mixing with confusion. "This isn't who I am." Clara walked up beside me, her tone gentle but firm. "Then tell me, who are you really?" For a long second, I couldn't answer. My throat tightened. My reflection wavered, almost like it was waiting for me to decide. Elise took my hand and led me toward the velvet curtain. "We'll start simple. Just a few measurements. A little fabric. Nothing permanent." But her eyes said something else. Something far more certain. Behind the curtain, I stood still as Elise wrapped the measuring tape around my chest, waist, and hips, murmuring small compliments in between. "Beautiful shoulders. Such a lovely frame. You'll carry silk like it was made for you." Each word pushed me deeper into the quiet confusion building inside me. After a while, she stepped back, smiling. "Perfect proportions. You were meant for this." Clara clapped softly. "I told you she'd be a natural." "Elise," I said finally, voice low, "what is all this for? Why are you doing this?" She paused, studying me. Then, with unnerving calm, she replied, "Because Clara wants the real you to finally come out. And deep down, I think you do too." My breath caught. What does that mean? But before I could press further, Elise snapped her fingers. Two assistants entered, carrying a white garment bag and a tray of shimmering accessories. "This," she said softly, unzipping the bag, "is your first real step." Inside hung a long blush pink gown. Not just any dress, it looked like something meant for a bride. Clara stepped closer, her hand brushing my cheek. "Try it on for me, sweetheart." I stared at her, my mind spinning between disbelief, anger, and an emotion I couldn't name. I should have refused. I should have walked out. But instead, I found myself reaching for the zipper. As the gown slipped over my shoulders and the fabric kissed my skin, a strange calmness spread through me, like the dress itself was whispering something I couldn't quite understand. Clara's reflection appeared behind me in the mirror, her smile unreadable. "See," she whispered. "I told you she was already here." And before I could turn to face her, Elise added softly, "Welcome to your new beginning, Daniela." The lights dimmed. The mirror shimmered. And for the first time, I wasn't sure if Daniel still existed at all. The boutique's back room felt different, quieter, almost sacred. A faint hum filled the air, like soft music playing from nowhere. Elise guided me to a tall, oval mirror framed in gold. Its surface shimmered slightly, catching every breath I took. Clara stood nearby, her arms folded, her expression unreadable but calm. "Daniela," Elise said softly, "this is what we call the mirror test. Stand before it and just look." I hesitated, every instinct screaming to stop. But something about the air, the way it pressed against my skin, kept me still. The gown shimmered faintly in the soft light. The lace brushed my collarbone, the bodice hugged me gently, and my reflection seemed to breathe differently. I took a slow, unsteady breath. "I don't recognize myself." Elise tilted her head. "That's because you've spent your whole life running from what you see now." "I'm not," I trailed off. "I'm not her." "But you could be," she whispered. Clara stepped closer, her hand brushing over my shoulder. "Do you really think I'd go through all this if I didn't believe in you, sweetheart?" I swallowed, trying to meet her gaze. "Why are you doing this, Clara? What do you want from me?" Her expression softened. "I want you to stop hiding. You've been pretending to be someone you're not. Always trying to be strong, stoic, perfect. But that's not who you are." I shook my head. "You don't know who I am." "I do," she said, voice steady. I married you, remember? I've seen the gentle part of you, the kind soul, the soft eyes, the way you look at life. You've always had it in you. I just helped you see it. Elise's voice joined in, calm and persuasive. Daniela, there's freedom in letting go of who you think you're supposed to be. I looked back at my reflection. My heart pounded. The girl staring back wasn't just dressed differently, she felt different.
Softer.
Lighter. I reached out and touched the mirror. The glass felt warm. My reflection blinked, and for a second, she smiled before I did. I stumbled back, gasping. What was that? Clara caught my arm gently.
Easy.
The mirror just shows what's already inside you. That's all. But her eyes flickered just for a second, and I knew she was hiding something. Elise smiled, folding her hands. You did beautifully. We're ready for the next step. I turned to her, still shaken. Next step? Of course, she said. The transformation isn't complete until you wear it with pride. We'll prepare your hair and makeup properly. No more half measures. I hesitated, glancing between her and Clara. And if I refuse? Clara's expression darkened only slightly, but enough. Then you'll go back home looking like this, halfway between who you were and who you're meant to be. Is that what you want? The threat was quiet, but it landed deep. I took a slow breath.
Fine.
Do it. Elise nodded, pleased. Good.
Sit down, Daniela.
Let's finish what we started. As I sat, I caught my reflection again. The mirror shimmered once more, and for the briefest moment, my reflection whispered something I couldn't quite hear. A single word, but it sounded like stay. Hours later, when they were done, I stood before the mirror again. This time, the reflection smiled, not forced, not uncertain. She looked peaceful. But when I leaned closer, something inside me froze. In the reflection just over my shoulder, Clara's image was different. Her eyes were darker, colder. And though she stood silently behind me in the room, her reflection in the mirror leaned forward and whispered, "Now, my dear, you're finally mine." My blood turned to ice. When I spun around, Clara was gone. The room was silent, too silent. The soft hum that had filled the boutique's air before was gone, replaced by an eerie stillness that pressed against my skin. My pulse hammered in my ears as I turned, eyes darting across the room. "Clara?" I called out, my voice trembling. "Clara, this isn't funny." No response. Only the faint creak of the floorboards as I took a hesitant step forward. Elise was gone too. The makeup brushes, the lights, the fabrics, everything that had made the room feel alive was still. Even a clock on the wall had stopped ticking. I turned back toward the mirror. My reflection stared back at me, but it was off. The smile was gone, replaced by a strange, knowing expression. Her head tilted slightly, like she was watching me. I took a shaky breath. "This isn't real," I muttered. "This can't be real." But when I moved closer, my reflection didn't move in sync. She stood still as I stepped forward, her eyes tracking me like a living person. "Stop it," I shouted, stepping back. "Stop looking at me like that." And then, without warning, the reflection whispered again. "You're almost ready." My blood froze. The air around the mirror shimmered like heat waves, and I could swear I felt something pulling. I stumbled back, grabbing a chair to steady myself, my breathing ragged. "Where is she?" I whispered. "Clara, where did you go?" The reflection smiled my own face, soft and calm, and spoke again. "She's waiting where it began."
I didn't understand.
My thoughts spun, my heart pounding. Then I remembered where it began. The old garden behind our house. That was where Clara had first handed me the box, the one with the dress that started everything. I ran, out of the boutique, down the empty street, the night air cold and heavy against my skin. When I reached the garden, the gate was slightly open, swinging in the wind. The moonlight painted everything silver. I pushed through the overgrown vines, calling out, "Clara, Clara, answer me." Then I saw her standing near the old stone bench, her back to me. She turned slowly, and my breath caught in my throat. She looked radiant, but her expression was distant. detached. Clara, I said, my voice cracking. What is happening to us? She smiled faintly. It's almost over, Daniela. I shook my head. Over?
What are you talking about?
She stepped closer, reaching out to touch my face. You don't see it yet, but you will. Everything I've done it's to help you become. Become what? Her hand brushed my cheek, and for a second, I saw something flicker behind her eyes, sadness, guilt, and something darker. Then just as quickly, she whispered, Look at your reflection one last time. Before I could speak, the world around me seemed to bend. The wind roared through the trees, and the air shimmered again like glass breaking. I turned toward the house, its windows glowing faintly with an unnatural light. And in one of those windows, I saw her, my reflection, watching me. She smiled. And then she waved. When I blinked, Clara was gone. The garden was empty. Only the faint echo of her voice remained, carried by the wind. You'll thank me when it's done. I stumbled backward, staring at my hands now faintly glowing in the moonlight. And when I ran back inside, the mirror in the hallway had changed. My reflection wasn't waiting for me anymore. She had stepped out. I slammed the front door shut behind me, my heart hammering so hard it echoed in my ears. The entire house felt wrong, like someone had taken a picture of my home and replaced tiny details to make it off. The paintings on the wall were different. The furniture had shifted ever so slightly. Even the scent of the place, normally warm and comforting, was sharp, artificial, like perfume sprayed to hide decay. Clara, I shouted again, voice cracking. Where are you? No answer. Only the faint hum of something electrical, the same soft vibration I'd felt in the boutique. Then I saw it. The mirror in the hallway. The one that had always reflected the staircase and the vase beside it. Except now it didn't. The reflection showed a completely different room, a pale, glowing version of the same house, where the lights flickered and the air seemed alive. And there, in the reflection, standing just beyond the frame, was her.
Me.
Or, at least, the version of me the mirror wanted me to become. Her hair was perfect, her dress immaculate, her expression calm. She smiled faintly and lifted a hand in a delicate wave. My voice trembled. Who are you? The reflection's lips moved, but I couldn't hear the words. Then the faint hum deepened into a low pulse that made the floorboards tremble. I took a step closer, and suddenly, she moved too. Not like a reflection, no. She stepped toward the glass from her side. I stumbled back, but her hand pressed against the other side of the mirror. I could see the faint outline of her fingers through the shimmering surface. Then I heard it, a soft, haunting whisper that came from everywhere and nowhere at once. Let me out, you've had your turn. I froze, my breath caught in my throat.
No.
No, this isn't happening. But as I turned to run, every mirror in the hallway, every single one flashed to life. My reflection appeared in each one, dozens of versions of me, each smiling wider than the last. You're in my place now, they whispered together, voices echoing like wind through glass. I fell to my knees, hands over my ears. Stop. Stop it. But the mirrors began to shake, the images flickering between me and her. Then one of them cracked, just a hairline fracture, but from that crack, light poured out like liquid silver. And when I looked up, I saw movement, someone stepping through. It was her. The reflection. Alive, real, breathing. She stood in front of me, brushing invisible dust from her skirt, her eyes locking onto mine. It's all right, she said softly. You've carried the mask long enough. Let me take it now. I backed away. You're not real. She smiled sadly. Neither were you, not really. Not until now. Before I could respond, she placed her hand over my heart. I felt a pull stronger than gravity, stronger than fear. The air bent, my vision blurred, and I realized, too late, what she was doing. She was switching places. The last thing I saw before the world inverted was her smiling face as she whispered, Goodbye, Daniel. Hello, Daniela. Then everything went black. When I woke, I was staring through the glass. The mirror was whole again, smooth, polished, calm. Clara stood on the other side of it, her eyes full of quiet triumph. And standing beside her was me. Or rather, the reflection, the one who had taken my place. She smiled, resting her hand gently in Clara's. "Perfect," Clara said softly. "Just like I imagined." I screamed, pounding against the inside of the glass. But no sound came out. Clara didn't even glance my way. She just whispered, "Welcome home, my bride." And then she turned off the lights. The room was silent except for the sound of rain hitting the window. Ethan sat on the edge of the bed, his reflection staring back from the mirror across the room. He looked nothing like the man who had walked into that wedding hall weeks ago. His hair framed his face softly, his posture was delicate, and even his breathing felt practiced, controlled, feminine. But the strangest part was that it no longer felt like a disguise. It felt natural. Lila entered quietly, her heels clicking against the marble floor. She carried a small box in her hands, white, with a pink ribbon. "Do you remember what day it is?" she asked softly. Ethan hesitated. "Our honeymoon's end?" She smiled faintly. "It's the day I wanted to tell you the truth." He turned, confused. "The truth?" Lila walked closer and placed the box on his lap. "Open it." Inside was a delicate gold necklace with a small heart pendant engraved with a name. Evelyn. His breath caught. "Who's Evelyn?" "You are," she whispered. He blinked, stunned. "Lila, what are you saying?" She reached out, touching his cheek tenderly. "You became everything I ever dreamed of. Confident, graceful, caring, but you also became someone I fell in love with all over again. Evelyn isn't a disguise anymore. She's who you've become." Ethan's heart raced. "You mean you don't want me to go back?" "I mean, I don't think you can," Lila said softly. "Not after everything we've built. Not after everything you've become." He stood, shaking his head in disbelief. This was supposed to be temporary. You said it was just for the photos, for the ceremony." Lila smiled sadly. "It started that way. But then I realized something. Maybe it wasn't me trying to change you. Maybe it was you finally showing who you were meant to be." Ethan stepped back, voice trembling.
No.
"No, that's not true." But as he looked at his reflection again, the woman staring back didn't look frightened. She looked serene. "Maybe it is," the reflection seemed to whisper. He turned toward Lila, his voice barely audible. "What have you done to me?" She smiled softly. "I didn't do this to you, Evelyn." "You did." That night, Evelyn couldn't sleep. Her mind replayed every word, every choice, every temporary step that had led her here. She rose quietly, walking to the vanity where her bridal necklace glimmered under the moonlight. But then she noticed something chilling. Her passport left on the dresser was gone. In its place lay a brand new one with her new photo. And the name on it was Evelyn Grace Carter. Ethan's old name gone. Her breath caught as she realized. Lila hadn't just changed her looks. She had erased the man she used to be. Evelyn's hands trembled as she held the new passport. The photograph staring back was flawless soft curls, elegant makeup, that unmistakable glow of a woman newly in love. But beneath that beauty was the echo of someone she once knew. Someone who was now legally gone. She stormed into the hall, clutching the passport. "Lila, what is this? What have you done?" Lila was sitting by the fire, still in her silk robe, sipping tea like nothing had changed. She looked up calmly, eyes full of a strange warmth. "I told you, Evelyn. It's time to stop pretending." Evelyn's voice cracked. "Pretending? You've erased my identity. I can't go back to work, to my life, to anything." "That's because you don't need to," Lila interrupted gently. "You've built something new. Something better." Evelyn's anger faltered. "Better? You think this is better?" Lila stood, walking closer until she was just inches away. Her perfume filled the air, sweet, intoxicating, disarming. "Do you remember the first time I saw you smile as her?" she whispered. "You were nervous, but free. You laughed without hiding it. You looked at yourself and didn't flinch. For the first time, you loved who you saw." Evelyn shook her head, backing away. "That was a moment. An illusion." You made me believe. I showed you who you really are, Lila cut in. And, deep down, you know I'm right. Evelyn's lips parted to protest, but no words came. Her heart pounded, her throat tight. The reflection in the mirror behind Lila shimmered faintly in the candlelight, soft curls framing a tear-streaked face that wasn't angry, just confused. Vulnerable. Lila reached out, gently wiping away a tear from Evelyn's cheek. I didn't take your life, Evelyn. I gave you a chance to start again. You were drowning before this. Working endlessly, disconnected, lost. I saw it in your eyes every night. Evelyn looked down at her trembling hands, the manicured nails, the soft pink polish. Her voice cracked, quiet and scared. So what now? Do I just live as your creation? Lila smiled faintly.
No.
You live as my partner. Evelyn froze.
What?
Lila held out her hand. Not as husband or wife. Not as a label. Just as the person you've become. Stay with me, Evelyn. We can build something real, something that's just us. Evelyn stared at her, torn between two worlds, the man she had been and the woman she had become. Her breath hitched, her pulse racing. And then, a sharp knock echoed through the door. Both women turned, startled. Lila frowned. Who could that be this late? Evelyn stepped closer to the door, hesitant. She opened it just a crack and froze. Standing outside was a woman she'd never seen before, tall, composed, wearing a tailored black suit. In her hand was a folder with Evelyn's photo on it. Mrs. Carter, the stranger said calmly. We need to talk. It's about your husband. Evelyn's blood ran cold. Her voice trembled. My husband. The woman nodded. He's missing. And we believe your wife knows why. Evelyn turned slowly toward Lila, who was no longer smiling. Her calm mask had cracked, and for the first time, Evelyn saw fear flicker in her eyes. Lila, Evelyn whispered. What did you do? Lila's silence said everything. The fire crackled behind them, the rain pounded harder outside, and Evelyn realized that her transformation was only the beginning of a much darker truth. To be continued. Fire ring.